Hello beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing great today. Before we jump into the numbers, let's set the context properly. Over the past day, Columbina's version 3 beta changes have caused a lot of confusion. Some posts are calling it a huge nerf, others are saying she's still overpowered, and a lot of players are reacting before actually reading what changed. That's understandable, because when numbers go both up and down at the same time, it's very easy to jump to the wrong conclusion. So in this video, I'm not here to overhype Columbina or do-post her. I'm here to slow things down and explain exactly what changed in version 3, what actually went down, what went up, and what these adjustments mean in real gameplay at C0 compared to higher constellation investment. With that out of the way, let's start with an important correction. Not everything in Columbina's kit was nerfed. In fact, one part of her kit was directly buffed. Her charged attack, Moondrew Cleanse, previously dealt 2.27% of her max health per hit, striking 3 times. In version 3, this value was increased to 2.72% of max health per hit, still striking 3 times. That means her total charged attack scaling went from 6.81% to 8.16% of max health. That is a clear buff. So if you see claims that Columbina's charged attack damage was reduced, those claims are simply incorrect. Now, where did the nerfs actually happen? The real changes hit her elemental skill and lunar reaction damage, which is where most of her off-field damage comes from. Her lunar charged damage from gravity interference was reduced from 9.9% of max health to 8.47%. Her lunar bloom damage per hit was reduced from 3.6% to 2.53% of max health, still triggering 5 times. Her lunar crystallized damage was reduced from 18.75% to 15.88% of max health. These are real reductions, and this is why many players immediately reacted with the word nerf. Columbina's reaction-based damage spikes were toned down. The key thing to understand here is this. Her on-field charged attack damage went up, but her off-field lunar reaction damage went down. That's not a contradiction. It's a redistribution of power. Before version 3, Columbina was doing too many things at low investment. She dealt respectable personal damage, scaled entirely from max health, enabled lunar reactions, and buffed those same reactions for the team. Characters that combine all of those roles almost always get adjusted during beta. Now let's talk about her constellations, because this is where the design direction becomes very clear. At C1, C3, C4, and C5, the team-wide lunar reaction damage bonus was reduced significantly. Previously, these constellations granted large bonuses, but in version 3 those values were lowered to 1.5% per stack. On paper, that looks bad until you look at C2. At C2, Columbina now increases her max health by 40% instead of 30%. Her lunar charged and lunar crystallized bonuses were also increased from 0.7% to 1%. Most importantly, the team-wide lunar reaction damage bonus at C2 was increased from 3% to 7%. At C6, the lunar reaction bonus was adjusted to 5%. What this tells us is simple. Power was not removed, it was concentrated. Early passive constellation power was reduced, while meaningful investment breakpoints, especially C2, were strengthened. This does increase the gap between C0 and C2 compared to earlier beta versions, and players should be aware of that. However, this is not a mindless constellation tax. C2 does not provide permanent, team-wide buffs. It converts Columbina's max health into attack and defense for the active character only, which means timing and rotations actually matter. You are rewarded for playing correctly, not just for owning the constellation. Basically, it's Hoyover's old formula for Archons or top meta characters good at C0, best at C2, and meta at C6. Now let's talk about Lunar Bloom specifically, because it took the biggest visible hit. Lunar Bloom teams were producing very high damage spikes when fully optimized, especially with strong off-field application. Reducing the per-hit damage lowers those spikes without deleting the reaction. Bloom teams are weaker than before, but they're still playable. Meanwhile, Lunar charged and Lunar crystallized teams remain consistent and stable. Columbina still enables Lunar reactions, still scales cleanly with max health, and still fits reaction-focused teams. What changed is that her power is now more controlled and more timing-dependent. So where does Columbina stand now? At C0, her reaction damage is lower, but her charged attack is stronger. She remains a solid Lunar reaction enabler, not a solo carry. She fits teams that value consistency and setup rather than raw independent damage. At C2, she becomes significantly stronger. The scaling feels intentional and rewarding, but it is clearly optional. The gap is larger, and whether that is acceptable depends on personal preference. So, is this a nerf or a buff? The accurate answer is this. Columbina's reaction damage was nerfed, her charged attack was buffed, and her constellation power was redistributed toward higher investment and tighter timing windows. This is normal beta balancing for a character built around a new mechanic. And remember, this is still beta. Numbers can change again before release, but the direction is already clear. Before we end the video, a quick reminder. We are doing a 5 Welcome Moon giveaway when the channel hits 3,000 subscribers, so if you enjoy clear breakdowns without panic or misinformation, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Let me know in the comments what you think about these changes. Do you prefer characters that feel complete at C0, or characters that scale heavily with investment and reward proper execution? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.